this. Here we go, Johnny Mundo. Oh, nobody's safe. Watch Mundo.
Welcome everyone, episode 3 of Goin Underground. And Marty, I always tell you my favorite interviews out there are referee interviews. We've got 3 amazing referees here. Marty, who did we bring with us today?
Well, today for our third Goin Underground 3, there's 3 of the best referees in the business, and 2 of the guys I just absolutely love to death. And I had the honor of working with them. I know them as human beings and friends, lifelong friends at that. First off is you guys see him every Wednesday night on Dynamite, referee Rick Knox. Mr. Knox, thank you for coming on and joining us here. And secondly, we have Mr. Dr. Justin Borden of New Japan Pro Wrestling and doing some television stuff out there with Chavo Guerrero. Welcome, Justin. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. And how you guys doing?
Awesome, man. It's been fantastic. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, man. Let's have some fun and talk about some great memories and some times that we had at Lucha Underground, because folks really want to know about our time at Lucha Underground and what it was. And again, I'm going to go on record here, is that myself, Justin, Rick, and of course, Nick Barker, who was towards the end of Lucha Underground season 4, we called him Nick Papa DiGiorgio. I believe we called him that.
Papa Giorgio.
Papa Giorgio, there you go. I just want to clarify and get it out there for folks in Lucha Underground world, and so that we were the only referees, officials for Lucha Underground. There wasn't anybody else. It was just Rick Knox, Marty Elias, Justin Borden, and Nick Barker. Those were the only 4 gentlemen who ever stepped in a Lucha Underground match, temple or the Ice House. So I just want to lay that out there and just let people know that if anybody else tries to say that they did or they were, they're liars. Plain and simple.
Whoa. Laying it down.
Is that,
Yes, sir.
You guys have all refed so many places. Is that like the least amount of refs in a company that you guys have seen? Or no? 4 referees total?
I would expect for TV probably, but for indies, you might have 1 ref a show,
Right.
Yeah,
lucky
right,
1 ref.
right.
But for TV, I mean, 3 is pretty. I mean, Marty, you're the one who has more, Knox, TV experience than I do. So
Yeah, we generally have at least 4 on AEW, and I want to say, but even back when we did like Hollywood, there'd be like 9 or 10 of us sometimes.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Well, you never knew. Sometimes you had like just the 2 of us, and sometimes you had more refs than you have for matches. So
Right.
Yeah, and for Lucha Underground, I always wanted to keep it to a minimum, just us 3, And again, the reason I did that is because I knew you guys, I trusted you guys, I had worked with you guys, and I had handpicked you guys for a specific reason. And the only reason why that Nick came on, and again, Nick's a great dude, love him to death, is because Knox got hurt at the end of season 4, and we'll get into detail of that in a little bit. But I just wanted to keep it.
Marty?
What's that?
Can I share something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
So
jump in.
share with Jonah and everybody else. I remember how this all kind of came about. So like Marty, been talking to Marty. We were doing a promotion out in Arizona. It was called IWF. Me and Knox were traveling out there as we wrote it. Marty was supposed to travel with us, and he got sick. I think you were managing Sean Prince or something during that show and all that stuff. But you got sick. But during that conversation, me and Knox were like, "Hey, did Marty text you?" And we're like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, I texted you about something." So we both got the text from Marty, and it was the invite to what we didn't know was Lucha Underground. So it was just, "Hey, you're doing a show in August. Are you available for these 3 dates?" Yeah, or it was something like that. Like, can you do them? And it was because it was Marty. It was like, yeah, like I didn't know if it was just some, he was going to start up his own promotion or something. So I didn't bother to ask, price. I didn't bother to ask where or when. I just said, Marty, it's probably something good. And he's asking. So of course, it was like no hesitation on that course, on that part. And then as we got closer, he was like, "Oh yeah, this is like the pay, and this is going to be for TV." And I was like, "Okay, like this is even better now." Like, but it was one of those ones that just because Marty who he was, I said without asking any questions of like for sure, and I'm sure Knox was the same way, but we're just having a conversation how it came about. So when people ask me like, "How did you get booked for Lucha Underground?" It's all come to Marty in just this text that just randomly I thought was a regular show wound up being for Lucha Underground. So
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
kind of remember the same thing, just not knowing what it was going to be, but knowing that if Marty was involved, it would be cool. So, yeah, heck yeah, we were in. There was no question. So,
yeah,
what it turned out to be was something just way beyond what we ever could have
yeah,
imagined. That's part of the
Oh,
story, I
oh.
guess.
It's crazy. I remember that because that show, it was in Phoenix, and
mhm,
I think Shelton Benjamin was booking, or he was helping book the show as well. And I had gotten really sick like
mhm.
that week before or something, and I was out of it completely, man. There was no way that I was going to be able to go do anything. And I remember because I had been in talks with DeJoseph and Tony Jensen and Eric and folks and everything prior to that. And again, I knew I wanted to bring you guys on, but I didn't want to jump the gun, so to speak, and say, hey, we're going to do this. And we didn't have anything confirmed. So that's why right around that time I got sick and we were going to all three go do that show. I said, hey, man, I need to let them know now. So that's why I sent you guys the text message and you guys got it. And again, you guys had no clue because I wasn't really specific at that point.
Nope.
But
Dude,
then,
I don't think we even knew the day of shooting the pilot what to expect. We got there and saw the temple. It was like, what the hell is this? Oh my God. We had no clue what was going on. Still didn't at the time.
yeah, yeah, man, it was great when you guys got there because, again, you guys were making more money than you had at indie shows, which I loved, that we were able to do that to you guys and give you guys that kind of money. But again, I trusted you guys, and you guys were the first two calls when they said, we want, how many referees do you want to have, Marty? And I said, I want three, and that's it. And they said, well, because they had mentioned some other guys, and I said, time out, time out. I got the guys. I said, don't worry about it. I said, and okay, well, we'll leave it up to you. And I said, good. And they did. And that's when I got a hold of you guys, sent you guys a text, and we are sitting here talking about it years later.
I'm still thankful and grateful for it. It
Yeah,
was an awesome
yeah,
time. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks.
Thank
So
you.
again, I was gonna ask how you guys got in and who gave you the call and stuff, but we already covered that. But like, let me ask you, what are some of the takeaways from Lucha Underground that you guys have that you guys apply today, or you guys look back and go, man, that really changed where I was and what I did. Rick, I'll start with you, boss.
The first thing I think that jumps to mind is the support and the love of the production crew,
Mhm.
and just the people who were behind the cameras. All of that. I'd never seen the sort of support that we got from those guys. I mean, I'm still friends with Brian and some of these guys to this day, and that was something I was not used to. The way they took such good care of us. I mean, from top to bottom. I mean, I could go on and on just gushing how well they took care of us there, but that's something but the first thing that always comes to mind when I think about LU.
Cool, man.
Yeah, I
Uh,
would
uh,
actually have to agree with Knox. Like it was, for me, I hadn't done anything. We did me and Knox did Lucha Libre USA, through MTV, which was a big disaster. Um, but it was so unorganized and everything was just kind of so just me and Knox, we hang out with some other people, talk to some people. But the one thing I do enjoy from, as Knox mentioned, from anyone from Brian to Liz to Julio to Robin, all the PAs to up to the producers, executive producers, Eric and sitting a DJ and everybody, it was like a family. Like anything else, you had some bad apples, but overall, everyone was like a family. It was, if you watch the show, the TV taping, most people stayed the whole time. And even if they were out, watching from outside behind somewhere, they were one of the main dressing rooms. Everyone would watch people's matches and be encouraged. And it was very encouraging on that, with it. I would hear people like worked, like say with WWE, and heard the nightmares of like how they treated, people, and they were very upfront about they didn't want to treat people the same way. So before the start of each season, they would have someone come in to do like test runs with the cameraman and all that stuff, and they would have extras come in just to like kind of be their bodies and movement and all that. And they always encourage them, hey, come talk to us. When we had extras on there, it wasn't like, oh, okay, you guys eat here and you guys eat there. It was always, come on, eat with us. Tell us something about you. Oh, wait, here's that. And it was, I'll just come in, make a comfort level, whether it was the main locker room, everything else. Except it was a family, like I said, that I've never seen even to this day. That, like I said, everyone was for the most part very supportive of each other. And like I remember even Knox will remember after the end of season one, um, Tejano came up to us, remember? And he at the parking lot
Yeah. Oh
on the
yeah.
wrap
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
panel at party, and he pulled us aside and he took us and he's like, I didn't really much know about you guys before, but he gave us respect and like how much respect he had us as ref, and he appreciated us, and he didn't have to do that. He was big name, in Mexico and all that, but he made sure he told us on the way out, like he pulled us aside and told us how much we appreciate it. Then we had Hernandez, our buddy, first season. He was our couch buddy. We had a lot of good
Yeah.
times, a lot of good joking and stuff with that. But there was this sense of people, and like I said, I still talk to everybody today. Chris Roach just wrote the movie Drop In,
Yeah.
or sorry, I think is it the Drop, the movie. I just
Uh-huh.
saw Chris Roach, who was one of the writers and probably producers, wrote that movie. And then he
Good for
also
him.
got me into the Big Brother end of the season. My friend was a big fan, and so I got to go to the season finale because of Chris Roach. I've been invited to other things. Even Carlos the Cut Man. There's just everybody still has that family.
Yeah.
And I would like to see one day a big reunion, but then also everyone's happy for everybody's success today. And the Lucha Brothers were having their promotion for a while, and there was kind of a mini reunion. And as Marty mentioned, they were supposed to have one at the temple, but unfortunately it fell through. And I was looking so forward. I'm not usually one to like ask to be on a show, but I hit up Knox. I'm like, I got to be on this show because it just the memories of it. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. We still had another show, which was really great, was a really good reunion. But yeah, like there was just this atmosphere where everyone cared, from whether they were the person that ran, in between stuff and was the go-to person to the person up on top. So.
That's awesome. I mean, it always sounds like a family. Like this is the third episode now, and everyone echoes exactly what you're saying, Justin. And it's so cool to see the success and past, like everyone went. Rick, you were mentioning a little bit off air, but you're having the opportunity to work with Ricochet again now in AEW. What is that like, having seen him really like cut his teeth, in Lucha Underground with Prince Puma and everything, and now getting to see him on a big stage?
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, getting to really see him shine, especially right now, he's kind of really blossoming, and his character is really coming through. He's having a lot of fun right now, which is really cool to see. But as I had mentioned before we went on the air, it had been 6, maybe 7 years since he had left after season 3, I believe it was, or was it season 2? Might have been season 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it had been a good long time since I'd seen him and had not talked to him until last year. And when he introduced me to his wife, Samantha, one of the things that he had said, he grabbed me and said, me and this guy, we helped change the freaking world, man. We changed the world. And that was a really cool moment to think that he still remembers that and still credits Lucha Underground to this day. And he knows what an impact it had and what he had. Uh, he was those first 2 years, he was kind of the heart and soul of the show, and it was his story. And after he left, I think it made the writers scramble a bit. But we have such good writers; they could overcome any departure, and they made it work. But no, it's great working with him again. He's a good friend. He lives in Vegas now, so he's not too far from me. So I see him quite a bit. It's pretty cool.
Hey,
That's very humbling to hear that, that one of the top stars, especially somebody like Trevor Mann, Ricochet, doing great things at AEW and stuff. At WWE, I really felt that they really put the handcuffs on him, and that
Sure.
was one of the things that we had mentioned. Johnny had told him, I told him,
Oh
guys,
yeah.
they're really going to tie you down. But
Yeah.
but again, he had to go experience that. But I'm glad that he's able to start becoming who he was again, and he's really able to shine and show the wrestling world, what he's all about and stuff. And it's very cool to hear that, he's absolutely right. We changed the world, man. We really did. And to be a part of that, and to actually know that us three were a majority of those matches, we were the referees. So when people talk about those matches, it was these three guys right here who were the guys.
Yeah.
So that's humbling.
Absolutely, it is. And like I said, you can tell he's having fun. He's having the time of his life wrestling again, which is, what these guys should be doing.
Well,
Yeah,
even
absolutely.
Knox, if you remember at the Lucha Brothers last show they had, Brian Cage took, the mic and said, it was his favorite time ever, Brian
Mhm.
Cage, and he's had a lot of success in AEW, and he, said, how he met Melissa, just in general, how it was just nothing like it, he's ever
Right.
experienced. And he did Impact, he won the world title at Impact, he's had success in AEW. But yeah, anyone who's been part of AEW, part of Lucha Underground knew something was special. And like I said, it's this long term, we did the Chris Bay show, and of course, one thing I asked Underground, someone tagged me and
Sure.
Melissa on an Instagram photo. Oh, Lucha Underground reunion, on that part. I didn't even know, who this person was, but they tagged us, because we're always associated with Underground.
It's all over the world. I mean, I've with AEW, I've been to Europe. We went to Germany. In fact, ran into the guys who did the German commentary back at Lucha Underground.
Mike
Those two
Ritter.
guys. Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of cool reuniting with them. But like, it's a presence still. It's known everywhere. No matter where I go, people still will pop up with the shirts. I'll still see it, and it's a cool little nod. People yell it out to me in the arenas and stuff. So yeah, still remembered well. I just wish there was a current, unless there's one that I'm unaware of, a way to watch it now currently. That's kind of bums me out that it's kind of just in the ether right
I'll
now.
text you something after this.
All
So,
right.
And the
Marty's got
DVDs
it.
are hard to find. The
they
DVDs
DVDs are
are.
that we have
impossible
Yeah,
to
because
get.
they're bootlegs, man. They're
hard to find.
bootlegs is what they are. Again, on eBay, there's this Lucha Underground place, but all that stuff is bootleg stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so.
Uh, Good to know.
Unfortunately, a lot of that stuff, is in a warehouse in LA somewhere. But
Yeah.
I'm sure that with this podcast gaining momentum, that we'll be able to spark an interest in somebody. So
That would be amazing. That'd be
yeah.
really cool.
So yeah, going to in-ring stuff. And Justin, I'll start with you, man.
Mhm.
What was I mean, you did so many cool matches there, like we all did.
Yeah.
Which one for you was your favorite, or which one is the one that stood out the most to you, and why?
I think for me, even though it might have been not say my greatest match per se of my favorite, but the most memorable for me was season one, The Gift of the Gods. I got to do the history, the first Gift of the Gods champion, got to crown it. And I thought the whole mentality was so cool of the different, like I said, the different medals, because it reminded me as a kid, Thundercats. But
Yes.
the main character, Lionel, had to go into the trials, and on that, he got the side pieces of everybody else on the belt. So it reminded me of that. And then getting to know DJ and everything else, like, okay, this is kind of like
Mark.
with that, with He-Man and all the type of stuff, with the influences and everything like that. But it was kind of cool because that's part of history. Like, I got to be crowned the first gift of the gods, And so I remember even the transition of the belts, how like the first the belt that Ricochet or Prince Puma had, versus the beautiful belt they created afterwards.
Yeah.
But that one
Oh, the
they
belts
had
were
the
all
magnet
badass.
on the
Beautiful.
belts, and then Phoenix went up for the as a champion, and then one of the magnets like shot off. So they made the other custom one that had the stuff put in automatically so they wouldn't fly off. But I thought I liked the concept, and like I said, it's part of wrestling history, not only Lucha Underground history, but wrestling history. So that's one memorable for me.
Very cool. How about you, Noxie?
There were so many, but the obvious one, the one that pops up right away is
Vampiro.
Pentagon and Vampiro. I
Yeah.
mean, Ultima Lucha season one. This is when at the end Vampiro revealed he was the master all along. It was just memorable for a lot of reasons. One, I think they didn't want me to do it for whatever reason. They didn't think maybe I could hang in the hardcore match, and Marty was
Oh,
like, "Oh,
bro,
you'll be
bro,
fine."
I said, I told them, I said, look, I said, the Joseph and the powers that be want me to do the main event. And I said, Knox is your guy. He's done these, especially with your experience at PWG and what you've done and everything. So when I mentioned those types of things to those guys, especially Vamp, I was like, he's going to be okay. You guys are going to have fun with him. Okay, okay, okay. And boom, I
Yeah.
said, give it to him. And
Remember even Stone Cold was, remember Stone Cold got Vamp on there afterwards just because he was so, he was, I think, tweeting live about it, just watching it and just, I know he enjoyed it so much. And then Vamp wanted being on Stone Cold show afterwards because, like I said, he was promoting Lucha Underground because he loved that match so much.
yeah,
Yeah, it was wild, and they went brawling up into the crowd. And a friend of mine who I'd worked with for many years had never gone to a show before. Oh, come to Lucha Underground. Literally gets on camera. They brawl basically in his lap. He still brings it up to this day, years later. It's like, oh, it was so awesome. He'll pull it up on YouTube and show people, this is me, and they're fighting right in my seat. And uh, I, it was a hardcore, but it was not falls count anywhere. But in the end, we counted the fall on the floor because Vampiro was on fire. So it was like, just count it.
yeah.
That was an audible we just did. I mean, what are you gonna do? Just count the guy out, man. He's burning up. Let's do
Yeah,
this.
and it's funny, like we were in Gorilla, and when you guys started making those counts outside, Joseph looks to me and goes, "Who changed this?"
Yeah, sometimes things happen.
Yeah.
And then that kid guy hit, remember? The kid with the shard, the broken.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, Tony,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
on the
yeah, yeah,
first
yeah.
episode, Tony talked about that. Our attorneys
Yeah.
weren't very happy about that, so that's why the attorneys were kind of just pushed off to the side after that. So
You
Pushed off to the
I mean,
side.
so many crazy matches, and that's like your guys' favorite matches. But really, question for all three of you: is there a craziest spot that you guys remember happening from your time there? Maybe you guys weren't
Um,
referees, but yeah.
Almost every episode had a crazy spot or a big stunt or something. I mean, almost every
Phoenix.
episode had
Phoenix.
something.
Oh my.
But like, the one that I guess really, I don't know, maybe you were going to touch on this later, but like, the one that like I'm always, oh my God, was when Matanza, Jeff Cobb, sliced his arm on the glass, up on the second level in the match with Rey Mysterio. And, we basically had to stop, cut, continue another day. Everyone leaves. Sorry, fans, let's go. And I just remember the blood spurting out with the beat of his heart, and
Yeah.
just thinking, if this guy passes out up here, we're way up on some second level scaffold, rusty thing. Is like, if he goes down up here, we ain't getting him down because he's 300 pounds almost. And but we quickly got down and got him taken care of. But like, that's the one that always something that stands out to me. Like, oh my God, he definitely came close to dying that day.
Yeah, I
yeah,
remember also for me was AR Fox versus Shane Strickland or Killshot in that three stages match, and when he went through the glass,
Yeah.
and
yep,
Yeah.
it wound up actually taking a big chunk of Swerve's butt. Like it was just, but each match, but that last one where he went through the plate of glass, me and Noxie were down, below on that part, and it was remember we just had to get him out
Yep,
through all
yep,
the
yep,
glass.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was like
Ugh.
insane.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was pretty thick. I remember all in his back. Yeah, that was rough.
yeah, yeah.
and you know what's crazy about that the glass, because like with the Ultimate Lucha match with Penta and Marty the Moth, that was real glass.
Yeah.
The Matanza Jeff Cobb thing, that was real glass. It was
Yeah,
supposed to be sugar water glass, but being the way we were and anything goes, so to speak,
sure. Wanted the real
outside of the
thing.
box, sky's the limit. We only get one shot to do this. It was real shit. It was
Yeah.
real stuff, man.
I
And
don't know how Marty the Moth survived that match, by the way. Like he bled more than
Oh, that one with Pentagon. Is that the one
yes,
you're
Yes.
talking
exactly.
about?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ultimate Lucha 4. I called an audible on that, and I told those guys to take it home. He was upset at me for about 2 years because they still had the tax and they had the barbed wire and stuff. But I said, no, 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 no. You said, you're not dying on my watch, man.
yeah.
I
We
remember
took it
being a
home, man.
huge puddle of blood out there on the chair and just being like, this came from one guy. Yeah, he definitely should be in the hospital.
Yeah.
I know the
Yeah.
one that I always see get replayed and that I love watching live was the massive drop kick. Just from how I mean
Oh
how
yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Angelico.
Angelico, yeah, yeah,
On
yeah.
Ricky Reyes
On the
Yes,
ladder, right?
when
Yeah.
he separated his shoulder.
sure did.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Sure did. Yeah. And it's funny because I remember uh in the creative meeting, we actually pulled Adam aside, Angelico, and we go, hey man, would you be able to jump from that roof? And remember his hair, and he was always doing this with his
Oh yeah.
and he goes, from up there. And we go, yeah. So he crawled up, he went up, and he goes, I can do this. And we were like, good. And that's how that spot ended up happening. And it's funny because Ricky didn't know that he was going to drop kick him. His whole idea was to hit the ladder. That's what his whole spot was to hit the ladder and to knock them off because they were slowly going up.
Yeah.
Him hitting Ricky Reyes like that and separating his shoulder was just the stars lining up, and it became a very cool spot. And we're talking about it today.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. Like you bring up Angelico. He's another guy who I get to see quite a bit now and hang out with, and it's one of our fond wishes that we often will speculate amongst ourselves like, man, if only Tony Khan had just bought Lucha Underground, and we could have just brought that back, and how much fun we could have had, but. It wouldn't have been the same thing, obviously. I mean, like you had mentioned before, we had struck lightning in a bottle with it. But Angelico is another just fantastic talent, and he did some pretty crazy other spots. If I remember right, didn't he do a
Like crossbody?
the body
Yeah.
press off the same thing or something? I mean, yeah, he was doing some pretty crazy stuff on there. Probably why he's always injured now.
Yeah. And, one of the crazy spots I remember is when Matanza and Mil Muertes, when they went through Dario Cueto's office. Remember that? Boom.
Oh yeah, heck yeah.
Did the whole deal and went through the office and stuff, And again, we had a whole playground there with the temple to play and hey, what about this? What about that? And really just take advantage of, the temple. So,
Hey Marty, I want to bring up a funny moment. We're
yeah,
talking
man.
about that remind me of. Do you remember the thing that was never the big crash through the top of the one part of the building that wasn't taped because it wasn't planned because they had the PA was just sweeping and he didn't pay attention. So we're there in the morning, and everybody hears like a big like crash, and there was a PA there that was just kind of cleaning up, laying like stuff, didn't pay attention, crossed a place it wasn't crossed, and fell through the
Surprised
roof
that didn't
or
happen
something.
more, honestly. I mean, that place was pretty dangerous.
That's
Yeah, he
crazy.
broke his leg. I think he broke his leg. But
Oh,
like you
wow.
heard it and was like, oh, what happened? And then this poor guy, like I said, just fell through the ceiling on something. I mean, we laugh about it, but like,
Yeah.
but it was just one of those moments like the behind the scenes. You kind of had to be there, but it was
Yeah,
funny.
you know,
But even he was fun and games afterwards.
Yeah.
Or the guy who was living in the temple.
What?
Oh, wow. Tell that story.
oh, forgot about that. Yeah, the dude in the office.
Who wants to share that one?
Go for it, man.
Okay.
That was
So-
wild.
So what happens is we used to have a spread that, and like Brian, like everyone, they would tell us like they had a cool spread like of snacks, nutritious stuff, not nutritious stuff, whatever. So they came and warned us like, hey guys, if you want something, just tell us, we'll get it for you. Just don't go to the supply closet and like rob it because like your people are taking it because we want to keep good inventory and stuff like that. So let us get grab it for you. We'll get it for you whatever you need, just so we can keep track of it. Just don't take it directly from the inventory. Well, we're like, no, like we don't do that. And like no one, like, okay, like, we'll do it, but it still happened. Well, come to find out, I think it was a DJ that went back to the temple late, or somebody went back to the temple late. And there was a door in season one to a room that was locked, and no one knew what it was.
Just never
It was
got
just like a
opened.
lock from the
Yeah.
outside. No one had a key. No
It's
one
a
knew what it
mysterious
was.
room.
Well, someone came in like late, unexpected, and that door was open, and somebody had a whole setup there, and they
It
were
was
probably
nice,
were
and
the
it was
ones that was
nice.
dropping the stuff.
They
They
had
had
like
they
a
had like a
roll
whole TV. They
they
were
had a
stealing
rolled
all kinds of
carpet in
stuff.
there.
So yeah,
Great.
like they were
It
living it
was
up
wild.
in the temple off our goods. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and it's funny because he set up his whole nice room off of the supplies that we had. He
yeah.
literally built his room into his, space, so to speak, based off of what we were bringing in: paint, rollers,
Yeah,
carpet,
Robin is blind. Yeah.
everything,
Food,
man.
the snacks,
Food,
everything.
yeah, yeah. That
Yeah,
that was insane.
and we talk about the building a lot. It was a character upon itself of the show, the temple. Um, so at the time, I had done research on it because I wanted to know, what is this place? It's insane. It was just some old industrial building from the turn of the century. It looked like it was actually originally, I guess, a facility that was used to repair trains and locomotives. And it all makes kind of sense because if you remember, in the very middle of it was like the big roundabout thing where the trains would come in and, could rotate in there and do
Yeah.
all that. But
Mhm.
it had been repurposed and changed over so many times. But like all that old crap was still there. And it was so fun to just go exploring, up these crazy ladders into these crazy rooms. I mean, I bet there was still people living in there that we'd never came across or encountered. I mean, it was that big and there was enough hidden nooks and crannies there that there definitely could have been more people living in there.
Well, if you also remember, which I found out from the guys, that across from Dario's office is where they taped Saw, the first
Yeah.
Saw.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
they kept a
where they
lot
taped.
of stuff. I still see
Yeah.
it come on shows. I'll say, "Hey, there's the temple." It's used quite frequently still.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine who's a medic, a set medic in Hollywood, Mark Garcia. Mark, I love you. He was actually there about 3 weeks ago doing a commercial,
Cool.
and he sent me a video, like a 2-minute video, and he goes, "Hey, is this the temple?" And he got it from the very top. You know where the stairs went down? He got right in the center, and he kind of just panned around, and he sent it to me, and I went, "Oh my God!" I'm getting goosebumps as I say that now because it was so emotional to see our home, so to speak, and a place that is always going to have fond memories for all of us, regardless of what we ever do. And I went, "Yeah, man, that's the temple, man. That's where it was." And one day, man, I'd love to go there and do a podcast there right
Wouldn't
in the
that be
middle of
cool?
it.
That'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
and point out everything, to show
Yeah.
people, and go up to the dressing rooms, and again, we did a lot of work to that place. We did a lot of work to that place, and it's funny because you mentioned that they shoot a lot of movies there. They shot Saw and everything. My buddy Piggy D from Rob Zombie, when he came to the season one wrap party, he walks in and he goes, "Marty, I know this place." And I said, "Really?" I said, "From what?" He goes, "We shot a video here." And I said, "You did?" I said, "Which one?" And it's Dead City Radio. And I went, "No way." And I went back and I looked and I went, "Yeah, that's the temple. Rob Zombie." So yeah, man, they,
That's
they
cool.
they did a lot of stuff. They actually did some Terminator stuff in there. They've
That's
done
right. Yeah.
quite a few things in there, man. So anything that had any type of ghoulish. I mean, shit, man, we killed people there. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
you know. So and we had aliens and ships and everything landing. So that temple area has seen a lot of magic.
But I think you bring up a good point, though, Marty. The fact that, from the stuff that we taped, the vignettes, to whatever we had, promos, to everything else, it changed wrestling in general. You saw later on, WWE tried to, do it when they did the Wyatt stuff, and,
Mhm.
with the New Day and other things, and you see it now. It changed how things were shot, from a difference on that part. I don't care
Oh
what
yeah.
anybody says. It by far changed like how things were done with it, and people always copy from it, or inspired from it. because it hadn't been done before. It had not.
100% the originators of cinematic wrestling. I mean, that we were the first ones to kind of to take that approach to it. And yeah, it's been often imitated and pretty close to being duplicated, but come on, man, they never did the same thing. Come on.
Yeah, and not a knock against anybody, but MLW has tried doing stuff
Yeah.
with that, and again, they did the Raw Underground. But Justin, you do bring up a very key word: try. You can always try and get those ingredients and try and make it your own. But again, if it's not the original ingredients, I mean, it's like somebody trying to duplicate Coke. You're going to get close, but you're not going to get it.
Right, right.
If that makes sense. I'll use that analogy. So, speaking with all those crazy matches and stuff that we did, I'll start with you, Knox, because I know that you came in injured
Yeah.
because I actually went back and I was looking season one and watching stuff. And it's funny because I remember you came in injured. You had that cast on your right arm, or was it your left one? And I remember, are you going to be able to do this? Yeah, 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 yeah. But again, it just seemed like through the seasons is that Justin, myself, or Knox were getting bumped and we were getting some legit injuries. And again, Knox, I'll start with you with season one in your cast, and then what happened with Mil Muertes when you were in his match. And then Justin, you can take it from there, boss.
Hmm.
Oh, well, yeah, I came in I want to say maybe just a couple weeks before I got cracked in the arm by Roderick Strong at PWG. I think that was that time. And
Yeah.
so I came in with the cast on, and yeah, I was a little bit of trepidation, like, oh my God, should I say anything? Should I just show up? What do I do? I think I'm just gonna just show up and kind of just say, yeah, I'm here. And to everyone's credit, they trusted my belief in myself that I'd be okay, and I was. Everything worked out fine. I had worked with a broken arm before. It was fine. Uh, so yeah, that's why, we taped so many episodes in such a short time. It looks like have a broken arm like the entire first season almost, but in reality, it was probably just the first couple tapings. But then fast forward to season four. Uh, yeah, I remember there was like a lot of things leading up. I think several referees were supposed to run in, get bumped, this and that, and so I was supposed to take the choke slam for Mil Muertes, and so I'm like, okay, well that's a rough one, but it's up and it's down. I can do this, It's up. How hard could a choke slam be? Up and down. What I kind of forgot, and this is stupid because I mean I've been working with the guy the last 4 years, is that when Mil Muertes did the choke slam, he went up and spun around and kind of threw you around. So like I went up, and next thing I know, I lost all sense of where I was. Didn't know which way was up, which way was down. Didn't know if which way I was going, and then landed so awkwardly that my collarbone basically cracked and had a little pyramid sticking out of my chest there, and quickly got rushed off to the emergency room, and unfortunately missed pretty much the rest of the season. I think I came back, maybe just did some run-ins on the last couple episodes, but that was about it. Kind of was done for Noxie. Yep.
Yeah, but the thing that I loved, and I had told you, I said, look, dude, come here, help out, do whatever you can do behind the scenes, and just be a part of this, man. And I
Absolutely.
said,
Yep.
and anything that you can do, just let us know, man, and you can go do it. And again, you were able to do some little pull aparts, no stop, or whatever. But again, you were such an important part of that, man. I didn't want you to miss out on that. And
And that meant
unfortunately,
a lot to me too, because injuries are the worst thing as far as the mental state. Like, I'm useless. What am I going to do? But like, I think I maybe only missed one day. I was there every other time, helping out, doing what I could. And I remember I was even helping, with some of the writing stuff. DJ had told me, like, why did you keep your mouth shut so long? I didn't know you knew things and had ideas. I'm like, well, I
yeah.
don't know. I'm not gonna, throw my weight around, but it really worked out. So I was still there and willing to do whatever I could. But yeah, and I was so well taken care of when I got hurt. That's another thing why I love Lucha Underground. I actually felt like everybody really cared. It was awesome.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Justin, any major injuries that you
Oh,
remember?
so there was not really super serious. Well, there is one that happened season four, but it wasn't in a match. But the first season, I remember getting knocked down. I was behind Mil Muertes when Santos Escobar. I'm trying to phrase his name right
King
now.
Cuerno.
King Cuerno, yes.
Cuerno.
He came so hard. He came so hard through the ropes, with that tope. And I
Yeah.
remember he hit a mill, and just the momentum he hit, I felt it back, and I rolled, from that because he was such full force when it came to it. Um, I actually got hurt, not as bad as Knox, but I remember when you dealt with Mil Muertes, he's a bull. Like
He
he's just
is.
a bull. Like he don't lay
He
off
goes
any.
hard, man. He goes
Yeah, he
hard.
hits hard.
He's a shit brick house. He's a
Yeah.
shit brick house.
So
Yeah.
I wound up injuring my arm, and there was a part where I had to hold the belt, and I couldn't raise it hurt so much to raise my hand for the belt. I avoided injury with Cage. I was going to take his drill claw,
Hmm.
and we had been practicing it because Vampiro was like, "Oh, maybe we should give him a power bomb instead." And Cage's like, "I'm more comfortable giving him the drill claw because I had so much protection with it." We practice it, we practice it, we practice it, and I remember we were going up, and we even practiced before we went out to the match. Well, come to find out, we forgot to practice it with the glove for the gauntlet, and so when we did it with the gauntlet, he lost. He lost with me because of the grip.
Yeah, he couldn't grab you.
Yeah. So I
It
came
didn't
out
look
more
like
like
a
a
drill
drop an
claw.
arrow. Uh, so yeah, but I remember like we practiced and was like perfect, 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 and but we forgot that one important key part. But the only other serious thing I had, and it was just not related to that, you guys might remember, is the day I went home, I was like feeling really, really bad, and people were asking me if like I was drunk, and I remember like I'm like, no, I'm not fine. Well, to come to find out, I had a lot of stuff going on. At the time I was working on a third master's. Working here, doing jobs. They always make fun of my schooling and stuff like that, but they were always very supportive. But I had a lot going on, and I just wasn't feeling right, and I didn't understand why people kept on asking me, but they wound up sending me home. Well, come to find out, I had what they call a mini stroke, and so when I was talking out, it seemed normal to me, but apparently it was slurring out like if I were drunk, with it. So that made sense on that part. So that was a scary moment for me. But, it told me calm down. But once again, everyone was very supportive. They drove me all the way home, and offered to take me to the doctors. At first I didn't think how serious it was, but that's one thing that Knox said, that they were very supportive of everybody. They always say, go to the doctors. You're covered under because that's one thing that people a lot of times don't have insurance when it comes to wrestling. But if it's something happened, it was covered with an insurance of the underground, and they make sure they want to take care of it because they paid it for a reason. They wanted your health to be a big, was a big part of them, and they were genuinely concerned of your, even the extras. When stuff had happened, they said, "Go, you're covered." We had one of the things of the filming, and a guy named Johnny Yuma got hurt, and like, no, go because you've recovered, you're covered, and anything after that will be covered with us. Otherwise, you go tomorrow, you're not going to be covered because we're on that part. So they're always concerned, and they're always not willing. Well, this requires for the cost. Take care of yourself because you come first, and that's another reason why I love the whole thing.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah, man.
I'm curious because we have all three of you here, and between the three of you, we've got WWE, AEW, New Japan, and of course Lucha Underground. How does it differ? Like, was Lucha Underground its own unique when it came to in the ring refereeing, or does refereeing differ across each company, would you guys say, or is it pretty much the same? What would you? We can go to Rick first.
At the time, I didn't think the matches in the wrestling was too different. I get asked about it quite a lot, and the fact that people were under the impression that this was like a stage show type wrestling with paid fans. Like, no, this was a regular wrestling show. We advertise it fans signed up to come. We did a match. If mistakes happened, they happened. They kept them in. It was a live wrestling show. In that regards, it wasn't really much different from what I had been used to, as opposed to live TV, which is what I do now, which is a totally different animal and completely different, a whole different conversation. But at the time, Lucha Underground, I didn't think the matches itself were that different, and I had been used to working with a lot of the international talent, a lot of the Mexican luchadors. So yeah, not too big of a deal at the time. I didn't think really.
Okay. Marty, what do you think?
No, Justin, go ahead, man.
It was for me, it wasn't that different per se. With it is different from New Japan because the style of Japanese is a lot different. For it, especially like when it comes to, how they do times, how they do outside, the role that the announcer or the timekeeper plays, type of stuff. That's a little bit different with it. But then also Japanese style has an influence of lucha. So one thing I did learn with Underground is that the big influence with Japanese wrestling and lucha and vice versa. Because when we had people who had language barriers, like we had Io Sky, come in, and her group of people, they communicated as a lot of Japanese through Spanish, and
Yes.
they use Spanish
Yeah,
as
isn't that crazy? Yeah,
Yeah.
on
the
that part.
crossover.
Yeah,
That
a lot
helped
of them
me
go on
majorly.
excursions to Mexico, so you see a lot of people have the respect for lucha, in general. So a lot of times you see the language of lucha, which is Spanish, is the universal language of wrestling, worldwide.
Yeah,
So
good point.
yeah.
Yeah, for Lucha Underground, one of the things that we were adamant about, and we smartened up Vampiro and Stryker, our commentators, and we made this a point because we didn't want the internet experts coming back and saying, well, the counts are this and that and everything. We always made it a point, especially when we were going to do something that was Gaga or Shakespeare, is that we would have Vampiro, but especially strikers say Dario Cueto's discretion or the referee's discretion. We said that a lot, and we fed him that line a lot when we were in Gorilla, because we wanted to make sure that people understood that this was something that was happening because of Dario Cueto, or because the referee at his discretion was going to allow this to happen, not because we were doofuses and we just were going to let stuff happen. That's not the case. We wanted to make sure that our audience was smartened up, and the experts at home and on social media or whatever, that we were doing this for a reason. And there was a madness to the reason, because it was going to lead to something else. And that was one of the things that me and DeJoseph were really, really specific about, is doing that. So anytime there was a lot of Shakespeare Gaga going on the outside, we made sure that Stryker and Vampiro, or even Dario Cueto, coming out a couple times and going, no, he would cut a promo and he would say no rules or whatever. He'd come out of his office, and some of those things were just spur of the moment, where he came out and he said that because it was spur of the moment, and we just wanted to make sure that everybody was protected. So I think that was the aspect of Lucha Underground that I really loved. Whereas I know, like WWE, they were really adamant, stay in the ring and TV times, and you had to stick to your times. But it's entertainment, and that's what we do. And I'm glad that Lucha Underground was able to entertain at that level, and people still love it to this day.
You bring up another good point, Marty. The fact that, like, so often, I mean, basically every episode, Stryker and Vampiro would say our names, not just
Yes.
the referee. The referee. They said our names, and that was a big deal, because at the time, WWE was not allowing their officials to be named on television. They were just the referee. And for them to call us by our name pretty much every episode was pretty cool. It gave us some recognition, made us feel like we were part of the show, and made us characters of the show just as much as the wrestlers were. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? That was one of the things that when we were getting stuff together and you guys came in, and I told them who you guys were going to be and stuff. I remember saying, look, referees are the unsung heroes. We don't get the credit we do. And again, we're in there working just as hard as the boys and girls and everything. And I was really happy that they allowed it to for Stryker to say it and stuff, even Vampiro in his heelish way, whatever. But you're right. It seems like every match that we were in, our name was said, whether it be
Yeah.
Knox or Elias or
Yep.
what Borden or whatever. And that was cool to be a part of it because we are a part of it. We're not just some guys wearing a striped shirt, and I wore this, like my prom dress.
I still have mine. I still have them.
I saw mine too.
Cool.
I've been
Nice,
out.
man.
People have wanted to buy them in the past. I'm like, no. I'm keeping.
I sold one about 4 years ago, and I wish I wouldn't have done it, but I got a lot of them, so I'm good.
Cool.
But again, these things are very valuable, man. And again, I get asked a lot, for stuff, and I just no. I mean, I'm not going to do it, and I'm glad you guys don't do that either.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we were characters. We are a vital part, and even at WWE today, referees are a vital part. AEW referees are a vital part. New Japan, vital part, and that's the aspect of the business that I've always disagreed with and really didn't like, is because we haven't really gotten the respect that we all deserve, whether it be Earl Hebner, Jimmy Corderas, myself, Knox, I mean, Kyoto, Jack Doan, Chad Patton. It's like referees should be in the Hall of Fame. I really truly believe that. I think Timmy White is in there, but referees really just need to be part of everything, because we are part of everything. Because again, like I said earlier in this episode, look at the matches that the three of us have refereed. I mean, just the three of us, the matches that we've done historically in our careers, pretty fucking cool, And again, with the Corderases, the Kyotos and stuff, I mean, we're the guys of everybody's childhood that they remember of us counting the 1, 2, 3s, So, I'm going to get off my soapbox now, but I had to say it.
Yeah, no problem. No, I just want to add, like I said, I'm still known as Lefty. People refer to me who are Underground fans as Lefty because that was the nickname that Stryker gave to me.
Yeah.
Until you realize I also count my right, but we just kept it anyways. But one of the things that Marty has talked about important referees that I had not seen prior to that in anything television wise is they would come to us and say, "What is your opinion on this?
Right.
Are you comfortable with this? We value your decision. We value your insight on that part." They gave us, a thing to feed. They would not have us do something we're not comfortable with, or they valued, what do you think about this? How about this? What's your opinion on that part? And I never had dealt with that any before with any, TV I had done, with it. And just in general, in wrestling, in most cases, other than like PWG, it's, they didn't care. And they actually cared. They wanted to hear your opinion. They wanted to have because they valued your insight. They valued what you as a person, as a referee, because they understood what you add to a match. As anyone knows, I mean, Knox has had I don't know how many 5-star plus matches. He's had some of the matches that are considered some of the best matches in ever. Marty is, of course, considered the best WrestleMania match of all time. So you have these people have this experience on itself. I have my own experience when I see, they mention these matchups, and lucky through me, whether it was Underground through other wrestling, I was able to say I had their first encounter. I had the Lucha Brothers and Young Bucks first encounter. I had Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay's first encounter. I had other things, Underground's, based on first encounter. I got to experience wrestling history, with it. And I always tell people, referee, you have the best seat in the house because you control the fans by your count and the motions. And sometimes they're going to love you and sometimes they're going to hate you. But like you're the one that controls the tempo, especially a match when they're into it. You control, how the reactions are. So that makes sure you have a good count because a crappy count can take it down, So it's just you have that and you can feel it. And you, as a referee, I at least can speak on my behalf, but I'm sure it's the same with the rest of them. You feel that vibe, you feel that energy, and it makes you want to even perform better.
Absolutely. And at Lucha Underground, that was one of the big things. I wanted everybody to be their own individuals, and that's why I never harped on anything, or it was just go be Justin Borden, go be Rick Knox. And I didn't fuck with anybody. I just let people do them, and we obviously did something right.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, did anyone ever come to me at any point and say, "Hey, you're doing this wrong," and like, no, man, we did our thing, and I
No,
mean, obviously, it
only
worked.
the jib guy. The jib guy always bitched.
Yes, he
That guy,
did.
the guy, the jib, he always complained
Yes.
about something to complain about, whatever. So that's
Yeah.
one guy who argued, but that you take it for what it is,
Yeah, I remember I went out and had words with him one time
I seem to
because
remember like
Yeah.
something like that happening. Yeah.
yeah, I had words with him, man, because he was really just getting the prima donna attitude
He was
about
the
were
one
we.
guy who didn't have to move because he sat in his chair and just worked the
Yeah,
jib. Yet he was the
yeah,
most critical of anybody else, you know?
and
Yeah.
and I remember I had to go out there and have a nice conversation with him and smarten him up and say, look, this is how referees work in this business. If you don't like that, then move your jib somewhere else.
Yeah.
And after I had that conversation, I went and spoke with the powers that be and said, if this guy comes to you, this is why. And it was never an issue after that.
Good deal. Good deal.
And then if you one thing you notice about like what Marty kind of alluded to though too is that it wasn't always the same structure either. It wasn't Marty always had the main, Knox had this and this had that. There was times throughout the series where one of us had the main, and everything else had the main.
It
It
was a
wasn't about,
pretty fair rotation, I
yeah,
remember. Yeah, it was really cool.
yeah, like
Yeah,
and
and
that's
and I did it that way
yeah,
because I was the main guy. I mean, I was a
yeah,
senior official, so to speak, or the senior official, I like to say.
LCO.
And I never saw it that way, man. I never saw me as being the main guy, man. I'm a part of the team just like you guys are. And how are you guys going to be able to work main events and know that you can work main events if you don't get the opportunity to do it?
Right,
And that was
right,
one of
right.
the things, that was one of the things like coming up. And when I first got to WWE, they would always throw me in tag teams or the Divas matches or, the haha matches. And I slowly had to work my way up and get the trust of the boys. And that's how I slowly moved my way up in WWE because I didn't want people just to assume that Marty Elias was a senior official, that he was going to have all the main events. No, man. I mean, I can get the curtain jerker. And a matter of fact, I got all the dark matches. I mean, because we had talent and we were scouting and whatever. But again, it was something that I just didn't want to think that I was just going to be the guy and that you guys weren't main eventers. We're all main eventers, and
Yeah,
I just thought that way.
I remember always feeling very well taken care of in that regard, and that you never were pulling the hi-hat sort of thing. And no, it was always we all got our chance to shine. It was
Yeah,
really cool.
man. That's not who I am, man, as an individual. And again, everybody deserves the opportunity, man. And if you don't give them those opportunities to shine, then you're just holding people down and you're a dick.
Right, right. And it kind of brings up just another thing with the crew that I just wanted to mention that like I had worked on other things before where the TV world and the pro wrestling world kind of interconnected. Like I worked on Wrestling Society X, that MTV thing. We did Lucha Libre USA. But as far as like the TV world and the wrestling world coming together and working together, this was a perfect synergy, I remember at the time, because I remember before having a bad experience with that, where, literally these TV people just didn't understand wrestling and the wrestling people just didn't understand TV. You didn't really have that much, at least from maybe you have a different memory of that, but it seems to me that everyone kind of gelled and it meshed pretty well, and that's probably why the finished product was so slick. But yeah, I don't
Yeah.
remember that being a problem there, like I do remember it being a problem with some of the other projects I worked on.
But I even
Yeah.
remember even to the band selection they had. Like it was cool. Like it was that added that so much to the show. Like it was cool bands that fit the show for the most. Um, it was like cool. It was just the whole vibe of everything going on. It was just this great atmosphere. That people want to be at, and then the growth itself. You look at the earlier episodes. there's spaces in the crowd. I mean, there was a lot of empty audience. And then once it caught on, it was the hottest ticket in town.
Oh
You
yeah, it
know,
was a big deal.
I can only imagine like you. I know you guys got hit up too. Like, how do I get tickets in? You would have people in, and it just once it go on, it was gone, and it was like, how can I get? Can you please get me into it? I just want to get to one show. Like I've been trying wait lists, all that type of stuff. So seeing that evolve, and the fans did become a big part of the show. They did
Yeah.
become a part of the show. Some thought they were a bigger part of the show than others.
Mhm.
But
But you
yeah,
know,
they
you
were the
mentioned that.
temple
You
was
mentioned that.
yeah.
Bring up.
But I have people today who didn't get an opportunity to see it, and that's the thing that they always tell me. And I got people waiting in line already for tickets. If a Lucha Underground reunion show ever happens, or we do a big one-off or whatever, or the TV show comes back, whatever. I got people already standing in line saying, "Man, I want to go see Lucha Underground." So, yeah, you're absolutely right, man. We really knocked it out of the park, and it was amazing to be there. The energy in that temple was just off the hook, man. To experience that was like to experience being a rock star, because that's the vibe. There were times in that building, man, I couldn't even hear myself.
Dude, do you remember the first Ultima Lucha, I believe it was, when Ray first debuted? Maybe this was season two, beginning of season two.
Yeah.
Yes.
When he came out and they said from San Diego. I remember that place just freaking, I'm surprised the roof it just didn't go flying off. It was insane. That was one of the loudest pops ever. I'll never forget that one. That was a good one.
Yeah.
But it's funny that you bring up Ray, though. You wonder what would happen if Ray's career had Underground not come about. Because I know, like, his matches with Ricochet, Prince Puma, helped revitalize him and, enjoy wrestling, you know, brought the old Ray out, with it that you hadn't
Did.
seen in a while, and that other places didn't bring out to him, So it's
I
just
remember being really
interesting.
impressed that he wasn't holding back when he came.
Yeah.
He was going full tilt, and that was something really cool to see. It's like, okay, Rey Mysterio's here to deliver. He's not here to just show his face, and that was
Yeah.
cool.
Marty
Yeah.
took a 619, right?
Yeah. At the South by Southwest show that unfortunately Knox and Justin weren't able to go because it was a budget constraint at that time. So, but yeah, I mean, took the 619, but again, Justin and Ray, Knox actually had an opportunity to work with Ray, and get in the ring with them and get to experience that, and again, it was like, we're all in this together. Let's all share in it.
I'm still friends with him to this day. So I mean, it's like
Yeah.
the friends we made at that time. It was the family's tight, man. The family is tight.
Amen. Yeah, it is, man. Yeah, it
Well, I
is.
said I said at the beginning, referee interviews are my favorite. Like this one did not disappoint. Listening to you guys just share these memories, it's really fascinating. Before we wind it down, this is a question that Marty and I have been asking every episode now. What it would take in, a fantasy world or reality to bring back Lucha Underground. Justin, I'll go to you first. What your thoughts on that would be, a revitalization of Lucha Underground?
A time machine? No, I think the need is there and the want is there. I think the only difficult part would be is that everyone's spread, out, with it. It just because of everybody being everywhere else, in conflicting promotions, and now with alignment with WWE and AAA, it would be difficult to happen. Uh, I think it would have to be maybe a restart, a revamp completely, and try it. But that's also kind of hard and difficult, But you're always hopeful because, like I said, the impact it had. WWE constantly mentions Lucha Underground. It mentioned it with Ray, and with Pentagon because they know the influence that Lucha Underground happens. When the buzz was WWE's going to buy Lucha Underground, it was probably because of AAA, but that was the hope because there was a hope that Lucha Underground could come back, and fans were wanting it, in the word, in the last 2000 what 8 18. So you're talking 6 years or 7 years. since it ceased, and yet still the talk, and people know what, the symbol of Lucha Underground. They know the
Yeah.
sound, they know everything because of the influence it has wrestling worldwide. It made a change. I mean, it made a change. Everyone wanted somebody at Lucha Underground, when it ended. It wasn't, nobody had issues finding jobs with the bigger promotions.
I don't know.
If they did, it was very few, and it was probably the issue with them. But people were just trying to take from it because they know what kind of special it was and what it was and what it meant to everybody. So it would be kind of hard because it could just because have the original cast, but it would probably take some old back in and some creativity and the writers that we had. I can think they can make it happen again. It just would be a new generation,
Yeah.
version dos. So
Windows. Exactly. Rick, what do you think about that?
Kind of agree with a lot of what Justin said. You're looking at the possibility of a reunion, which is near impossible. I mean, it would require tremendous intercompany cooperation, which we generally don't see, but never say never. Who knows? For something as cool and unique as Lucha Underground, maybe you could see WWE / AAA and AEW let their guys come together for a one-off. It'd be something pretty amazing. The other possibility would be a reboot, which would, I think, you'd require basically two things. One, the original writers, DJ and all that crew, and two, the Dario Cueto character. You get those guys back in the mix somehow. You can bring in the supporting cast of new luchadors. There's a ton of new talented guys out there who we could create new characters for and spin new stories for. And I think it's a possibility. Would the interest be the same? I don't know, but I think if it was branded as Lucha Underground, I think it would definitely garner a lot of interest. Definitely.
Yeah, I think with one of the biggest factors of that would have to we would definitely have to have Skip Chasen involved.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Tony too. All those guys. I
Yeah,
mean,
Eric.
yeah, absolutely. The entire writing
And
staff,
you
the
know
entire
what's so
production.
cool about that is the band is still there.
mhm.
The band is still there. So it's just a matter of just getting those pieces
Yeah,
together. If there's anybody out there with deep pockets, hello.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
It'd be awesome.
yeah.
Really would be. I know listeners of this podcast will love it, but far and wide, Lucha Underground fan base is strong and it is definitely out there. But I mean, thank you both for coming on. This was awesome. So cool to see you all reconnect.
No, our pleasure, man. It was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us. I
Yeah, thanks for
had a
having
blast.
us.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys so much. Justin, continued success with New Japan, bro, and doing your TV stuff with Chavo. Congrats, man. I really think that's awesome. And
Yeah.
again, congrats on getting your SAG. I mean, that's major.
That's huge.
Knox,
That's huge.
yeah, Knox, congrats on all your work and
Thank you.
AEW, man. It's so cool to see you being so successful there, man, and
Thank you.
kicking ass and taking names, man. So thank you guys for being here, and I love you
Of course.
guys, and we did some cool shit.
Awesome, man.
We're
Hey,
waiting for that text
we
again,
changed the
Marty.
world, just
We
like you
changed
said.
the world.
Yeah, we'll wait for that text again, Marty. Hey, I have an idea about a show. Are you
That's
available?
right, man.
Never say
We'll wait
never.
for it again.
Hey, always look
Hey,
forward
but
to your text.
you guys know me well enough that I disappear for
Yeah,
times, and then all of a sudden it's like,
Never count you out, man.
yeah. Never count Marty out.
never count me out.
Flatliner here.